Welcome back. All right, let's just jump right in. For years, your product feed has probably felt like a chore, right? Something technical you just had to get right to keep Google happy. Well, that's all changing. Today, we're going to talk about how to turn that simple file into your most powerful sales channel for this new AI era. So let's start with a number that should really get your attention. 83%. What is that? Well, that's the percentage of product recommendations inside ChatGPT that come directly from Google Shopping's organic results. This isn't just a small trend, you guys. This is a massive shift in how people are finding and buying products online.
And look, this isn't just a wild guess. A study that Search Engine Land reported on confirmed it. They literally found the evidence right there, baked into ChatGPT's source code. What that means is, there is a direct pipeline from your Google Merchant Center feed straight to the recommendations that millions of AI users are seeing. Your feed is now on the front line.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to unpack this 83% problem. Then we'll get into how AI agents actually shop. It's pretty fascinating. After that, we'll dive into a prioritized 3-tier audit for your feed. We'll even talk about what matters beyond your feed's data, and then we'll wrap it all up with something called the AI visibility loop, so you can turn this into a continuous system.
Okay, so just think about this for a second. Your Google Merchant Center feed is now the main gateway to 900 million weekly ChatGPT users. And that's not even counting Google's own AI overviews, Perplexity, and all the others. It's not a back-end tool anymore. It's your new digital storefront for the entire world of AI.
And here's the core issue. Most of our feeds were built just to check boxes, to meet Google's bare minimum requirements. They were built for compliance, not for conversation. And that gap between what an AI needs to have a conversation and what your feed actually provides, that's exactly where your revenue is leaking right now.
So how does this whole thing actually work? AI agents don't browse your website like you or I would. They don't care about your beautiful design or your slick user experience. Nope. They consume raw, structured data, and they do it in a very, very specific way. They use something called shopping query fanouts. So when a user asks ChatGPT for, let's say, the best waterproof hiking boots for wide feet, the AI doesn't go and browse a bunch of websites. Instead, it creates a really short, specific subquery, usually around 7 words, and it sends that straight to Google Shopping's index to pull back a list of products. That's the whole mechanism, right there. And this isn't just about ChatGPT. I mean, look across the board. All the big AI platforms source their data a bit differently. Perplexity does a live web crawl. Google's AI mode hits the Merchant Center directly. But you see the common thread here, right? Every single one of them relies on structured, complete, and accurate product data. Your feed is the foundation for all of them. Okay, so knowing all of that, what do we actually do? Well, we've broken it down into a clear, prioritized, 3-tiered action plan. This is your audit, your checklist, to get your product feed ready for this new world.
We're going to start with Tier 1. Think of these as the critical, high-impact fixes you need to make like this week. If you get these wrong, you're basically invisible to AI agents, no matter how awesome your products are. And the single most important fix? It's your product title. I mean, look at the difference here. Red Dress Cotton is a title for a spreadsheet, but Women's A-Line Cotton Midi Dress in Cherry Red, now that is a title for a conversational query. Remember those AI fan-out queries average 7 words? Your title needs to look a lot more like that. Next, you have got to sync your pricing. 100%. If an AI sees one price in the feed and a different price on your site, it just signals that your data is unreliable. And poof, your product gets dropped instantly. Same goes for having complete schema markup and verified GTINs. These are the basic tickets to the game.
All right. Once you've handled those critical fires, we move on to Tier 2. These are the important optimizations to tackle this month. Tier 2 is all about adding that rich data that helps an AI choose your product over a competitor's.
And what are those tiebreakers? They're trust signals. Things like product reviews, your shipping speed, how much it costs, and your return policy. When an AI agent has a list of 10 similar products, it uses these data points to figure out which one it can recommend with the most confidence.
This is another huge one. The difference between marketing copy and buying copy. That fluffy slogan, elevate your wardrobe, it tells an AI absolutely nothing. But waterproof hiking boot with Vibram sole, now that gives it specific factual attributes it can use to answer a very specific user question. Your descriptions need to be all about the buying copy.
And finally, that brings us to Tier 3. These are the advanced optimizations. Once you have all the fundamentals totally nailed down, these are the moves that are going to give you a serious competitive edge, especially as more and more brands start to wake up to this.
We're talking about things like increasing your feed refresh rate, adding links to videos, and 3D models to give richer context, and using multiple images that show your product out in the real world. These aren't super common yet, which means there is a massive opportunity here for anyone who wants to move first.
So, you've optimized your feed. You're done, right? Well, not quite. Now we have to talk about what happens beyond the data in your feed, because the feed is just the first, absolutely essential step.
Think of it this way. A great feed gets you into the selection pool. It makes you eligible for consideration. But your broader brand authority is what gets you selected from that pool. A perfect feed gets you invited to the dance, but your reputation is what convinces the AI to actually pick you.
And the data completely backs this up. The correlation between branded mentions out there on the web and AI visibility is more than double what we see from traditional SEO signals like backlinks. Why? Because AI agents trust brands that they see mentioned across lots of different authoritative sources.
And all of this leads to our final concept. Optimizing your feed can't be a one-time project. It just can't. To win consistently in this new game, you have to build a continuous system of improvement, and we call that the AI visibility loop.
The loop is super simple, but it's really powerful. First, you optimize your feed using the tiers we just talked about. Then, and this is the critical part, you monitor which of your products are actually showing up in AI results. You identify the gaps where your competitors are showing up and you're not, and then you use that data to repeat the whole process and refine your optimizations. Without that monitoring step, you're just guessing.
So the huge takeaway here is this. Your product feed has fundamentally changed. It is no longer just some operational input for Google Ads. It is the new front line of AI commerce. It is the primary data source that's going to determine who wins and who gets left behind.
And that really leaves us with just one final question for you to take back to your team. Right now, today, is your product feed just a compliance chore that you have to deal with, or are you treating it like the powerful new revenue engine that it has become? The choice is yours.